Hello everyone and welcome back to Law Statistics. Today's presentation is based on the topic the right to life, which is defined under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Article 21. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. Now, salient features. The right is available to all persons, not only citizens, unlike the right guaranteed by Article 19, which are available only to citizens. This right is available against all persons, not only against the state, unlike Article 14, which is available only against the state. The right is not absolute, like all other constitutional and legal rights. It can be taken away by a procedure established by law. Article 21 has two limbs: prohibition against deprivation of life and prohibition against deprivation of personal liberty. Remedy for deprivation or breach. Question: what is the remedy when the right to personal liberty is taken away or violated? Article 32 guarantees the right to move the Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings whenever the right to personal liberty is taken away or violated, either by the state or by a private person. Question: second, what are the appropriate proceedings in case of a breach of the right of personal liberty? The Supreme Court can be moved to issue a writ of habeas corpus. What is a writ of habeas corpus? Habeas corpus literally means to have the body. This writ is used to release a person who has been wrongfully or unlawfully detained. Through this writ, court directs the person detained to be brought before it so to examine the legality of his detention. If the court finds the detention unlawful, it directs the person to be released immediately. What kind of procedure? Is the prescription of any sort of procedure enough, or must the procedure comply with any particular requirements? Answer: the procedure contemplated by Article 21 must answer the test of reasonableness in order to be in conformity with Article 14. It must be right and just and fair, and not arbitrary, fanciful, or oppressive. Otherwise, it would be no procedure at all, and the requirement of Article 21 would not be satisfied. The case here is Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India, the 1978 Supreme Court case. Remedy for deprivation or breach. Who can file this writ? This writ can be filed by the detained person himself or his relatives or friends on his behalf. Against whom can this writ be issued? It can be issued against both public authorities and individuals as well. Examples of unlawful detention by the state. When a detained person is not produced before a magistrate within 24 hours, the detention is not in accordance with the procedure laid down and is therefore unlawful. When a person is arrested, even when he had not violated any law, this arrest and the consequent detention is hence taken as unlawful. Examples of unlawful detention by private person. When someone causes wrongful confinement as described in section 340 of IPC, it is punishable by section 342 of IPC. But this section provides no remedy to the wrongfully confined person. A writ of habeas corpus is the quickest and the most effective remedy for that detained person. Similarly, when someone causes kidnapping or abduction to confine a person, as described in section 365 of IPC, he is punishable with the imprisonment for up to 7 years. But this section provides no remedy to the kidnapped or abducted person. Once again, a writ of habeas corpus is the remedy. IPC punishes the wrongdoer but provides no relief to the victim. It has no provisions for the release of the detained person. However, the right to personal liberty being a fundamental right, the highest court in the country can be directly moved for its enforcement. That is for the release of that particular detained person. Scope of life. Will the right to life include not to live? That is, right to die. The Supreme Court answered this question in the following way in 1994 in P. Rathinam versus Union of India. Fundamental rights have their positive as well as negative aspects. One may refuse to live if his life be not according to the person concerned worth living, or if the richness and fullness of life were not to demand living further. A person can be enforced to enjoy the right to life to his detriment or disliking. The right to life, of which Article 21 speaks, can be said to bring in its trial the right not to live a forced life. Now is the scope of personal liberty. What is the scope of the expression personal liberty in Article 21? The expression personal liberty in Article 21 is of the widest amplitude It covers a variety of rights which go to constitute the personal liberty of a man. Some of these rights have been raised to the status of distinct fundamental rights and given additional protection under Article 19, while the right to move freely throughout the territory of India, granted by the Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause D. Personal liberty within the meaning of Article 21 includes within its ambit the right to go abroad, and consequently, no person can be deprived of his right except the procedure established by law. And it was held in the case of Satwan Singh versus Union of India also. Scope of life. That judgment was reversed by the court in 1996 in Srimati Gyan Kaur vs. State of Punjab with the following arguments. Article 21 is a provision guaranteeing protection of life and personal liberty, and by no stretch of imagination can extension of life be read to be included in protection of life. Any aspect of life which makes it dignified may be read into it, but not with which extinguishes it, and is therefore inconsistent with the continued existence of life, resulting in affecting the right self. The right to die, if any, is inherently inconsistent of right to life, as is death with life. Expansion of right to life. Right to live with dignity. The right to life under Article 21 means the right to live with dignity free from exploitation. The case authority here is Bandhu Mukti Morcha versus Union of India, the 1984 case. Then is the right to die with dignity. The right of dying when to die with dignity when life is ebbing out constitutes a right to live with dignity. In case of a terminally ill patient or a person in PVS where there is no hope of recovery, accelerating the process of death for reducing the period of suffering constitute a right to live with dignity. A competent person who has come of age has the right to refuse treatment even if such decisions entails a risk of death. What is the difference between active euthanasia and passive euthanasia? Active euthanasia entails a positive affirmative act, while passive euthanasia relates to withdrawal of life support of measures or withholding of medical treatment meant for artificially prolonging life. In active euthanasia, a specific overt act is done to end the patient's life. Moving ahead. Right to privacy. The right to privacy is protected as an intrinsic part of the right to life and personal liberty under Article 21. Right to privacy of an individual is essentially a natural right which inheres in every human being by birth. It is indeed inseparable and inalienable from a human being. In other words, it is born with the human being and extinguishes with him. And the authority cited here is Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India, a very recent case of 2017. Now is the right to protection of reputation. Protection of reputation is a fundamental right. It is also a human right. Each is entitled to dignity of person and of reputation. Nobody has a right to denigrate others. Right to person or reputation. Reputation being an inherent component of Article 21, we do not think it should be allowed to be sullied solely because another individual can have its freedom. Authority cited here is Subramaniam Swamy versus Union of India, the 2016 case. Expansion of the right to life. Rape, a violation of the right to life. Rape is a crime against basic human rights and is violative of the victim's most cherished right, namely right to life, which includes right to live with human dignity. Thus, rape amounts to violation of the fundamental right guaranteed to a woman under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. And the authority cited here is the Bodhisattva versus Sudra Chakravarti, the 1996 case. The Supreme Court summed up the extended scope of Article 21 in 2014 in National Legal Service Authority versus Union of India in the following way. Part A. Scope enlarged to diverse aspect. The meaning of words life, liberty and law in Article 21 has been considerably enlarged by judicial decisions to such diverse aspect as health hazard due to pollution in MC Mehta versus Union of India, health hazard from harmful drugs, that is Vincent Panikur versus Union of India, the 1987 case, handcuffing of prisoners. Now is the Altimish Rain versus Union of India, the 1988 case, that is right of speedy trial under Raghuveer Singh versus State of Bihar, the 1987 Supreme Court case. Part B. Directive Principles resurrected as fundamental rights. Many of the non-judiciable directive principles embodied in Part 4 of the Constitution have now been resurrected as enforceable fundamental rights by the magic wand of judicial activism playing on Article 21. Right to pollution, free water and air, that is in the Subhash Kumar versus State of Bihar Supreme Court 1991 case. Then is the right to food, clothing, decent environment, and even protection of cultural heritage in the case of Ram Sharan Authenprashi versus Union of India, the 1999 case. Right of every child to a full development in the case of Shanti Sthar Builders versus Narayan Kimlal Totme in 1990. Now is the right to education in Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka, the 1992 Supreme Court case, but not for a professional degree. That was in the case of Unni Krishnan JP versus State of AP in 1993. Now is the extended scope of Article 21. Article 21 is a tool to human development. The common golden thread which passes through all these pronouncements is that Article 21 guarantees enjoyment of life by all with dignity, viewing this human right in terms of human development as well. That's all for today's presentation. I hope it was knowledgeable. Thank you and have a great day ahead.